Chapter 7. The first heavy snow fell on Christmas Eve. The snow was a great gift, and I spent much of the day watching through the window as our little piece of North Carolina turned a beautiful white. The snow stopped late in the afternoon, but it was at least 7 inches deep. The sky cleared quickly, and there was a brilliant glow in the west. The sky was as beautiful as the snow. Nana Murdy called, "Eb, come in here." I went to the kitchen, which smelled wonderful. "Eb, take this fresh apple pie to Holling." I bundled up and grabbed the pie. The cold air stunned me when I stepped outside. The warmth from the hot pie felt good on my hands. The fresh snow crunched beneath my feet, and it was a nice sound. I stopped and looked in both directions, but there was no sign of anyone, just silence. The road was completely covered in snow with no car tracks anywhere. With no visible road, the area looked smaller and more compact, and neighboring houses appeared to be much closer. I was frozen by the time I arrived at Holling's yard, so I jogged up to his door in a rush to feel the warmth of his cozy little home. I tapped on the door, but there was no answer. I tapped harder, but still no answer. The door wasn't locked, so I opened it and slowly walked inside. "Holling, Holling," I said. There was no sign of my friend, so I placed the apple pie on the kitchen table. I wondered where Holling was, and I worried. I stepped outside and noticed some fresh tracks in the snow. I followed the tracks, and they led me to the path that went to the pond. The tracks continued into the woods, so I followed them. The tracks went all the way to the pond, and that is where I found Holling. Holling sat motionless and stared out at the pond. "Hey, Holling, I'm glad I found you. Nana Murdy made you an apple pie. I went on in and left it on your table. I hope you don't mind." Holling replied softly, "That's fine, Eb." His voice was slow and soft. "Are you okay, Holling?" "Oh, I'm fine." Holling paused for a moment and then continued. "You know something, Eb? I haven't always lived here alone. I used to have a wife. We were married for just over a year before she suddenly took ill and passed on. We became sweethearts when we were in the 6th grade, and we never broke up once. My sweet Mary Catherine, she was the only girlfriend I ever had, and the only girl I ever kissed. My dad helped me clear the land and build my little house when I still was in school. I did it all for my Mary Catherine in hopes that she would marry me. I proposed right after graduation, and she accepted. We married the following May. She was so beautiful. I never understood why she agreed to marry an ugly fellow with only one hand, but she did. Barely 1 year together, one Easter, one Halloween, one Thanksgiving, and one Christmas." Holling sighed and continued. "We used to come down to this pond in the evenings after I got home from work. Sometimes she packed a basket of food, and we sat by the pond and ate. I remember it so well. After we ate, she'd hold my hand and rest her head on my shoulder. We'd stay down here till dark sometimes. We came down here to the pond for our only Christmas Eve as a married couple. We sat together and exchanged gifts. I gave her a cameo, and she gave me a gold pocket watch engraved with the words, 'I love you.' Such a nice gift." Holling pulled the watch from his pocket and showed me the engraving. He smiled even though tears ran down his face. Holling continued. "After we married, I wrote her a letter every Friday night. In fact, I've never stopped. I still write her every Friday night. It's been well over 50 years now. I have so many letters for her. My feelings for her have never stopped, so I keep expressing them. After she died, I started keeping to myself. I've never cared about any new people or let any new people into my life until you came along, Eb." Holling's words brought a smile to my face. Holling dropped his head and sniffled. "My precious Mary Catherine." I struggled for something to say. "She sounds like she was a wonderful lady, and she was lucky to have you, Holling." "Thanks, Eb," I said. "Well, I have to go home and get ready for church. We're having a Christmas Eve service with singing and hot apple cider." Holling returned. "Okay, I think I'll stay here a bit longer." Give your Nana Murdy my thanks for the apple pie. Merry Christmas, Holling. Merry Christmas, Ed. I walked part of the way up the trail and stopped. I looked back at Holling sitting there all alone. It was so sad. His Christmas wouldn't be merry. Mama, Nana Murdy, and I arrived at the white snow-covered church after dark. The glow from the windows was a pretty sight, and the glow from the moon and the stars reflected off the snow and made the entire church almost shine. We entered and sat down in the pew, but we were soon on our feet singing, "Oh, come all ye faithful." Suddenly Nana Murdy's eyes widened with a surprised expression. Then she gave a warm smile. I turned my head, and there was Holling Peck standing in the doorway. He looked hesitant and held his hat in his hand. I waved my hand and motioned him over to us. Holling gave me a shy grin and joined us in the pew. My friend stood beside me, and I was proud to have him with me. Holling never sang, but he grinned and nodded his head. It was a merry service with plenty of smiles, except during silent prayer. Mama wept during that time, and I knew she prayed for Papa, and some of the other women wept too. We had cookies and hot apple cider after the service. Even Holling had some. They were delicious and warming. We went outside, and some of the children were sledding down the hill that was beside the church. Samuel Jones yelled out, "Come on, Eb, jump on." I jumped on the wooden sled, and Samuel gave me a push. I flew down the hill in super speed. I heard other children laugh and yell out as they went down, so I let out a yell too. Yahoo! I jumped off and pulled the sled back up the hill as fast as I could. At the top, I positioned the sled in place for the next ride. Suddenly, Holling walked up and sat on the sled. Samuel and I looked at each other and smiled. "Well, let's go, boys," said Holling. Samuel and I got on opposite sides and gave Holling our hardest push. The sled took off like a rocket, and I thought we may have pushed too hard. Nana Murdy put her hand on my shoulder and said, "Oh my goodness, is that Holling Peck on a sled? I never thought I'd see the day." Holling let out a joyous yee-haw as he made it to the bottom of the hill. It was a Merry Christmas for Holling after all. A happy Christmas for my friend.